masks, physical distancing, hand sanitizer, disinfecting wipes, singing happy birthday twice. We've all responded to these types of ways of living safely, differently, with varying degrees of vigilance. If we did them all, some would say it would wipe out COVID in mere weeks. Such a dramatic hypothesis immediately fails because we know people. Take the Sturgis motorcycle rally in South Dakota. 250,000 bikers, nearly all maskless, from all over the United States. Subsequent cases of COVID have been traced from the rally to all over the country. For the attendees, the importance of the rally outweighed all else. I doubt they thought very much about others. We know that COVID can affect us. People with compromised immune systems and underlying illnesses are especially careful to protect themselves. But how much are we protecting others? People who gather together are not just risking themselves, but might be sending the disease to another's home, who perhaps is living with an elderly grandparent or someone with other medical issues. But we know all that. So that's why we have generally accepted COVID restrictions as a necessary burden. And it's very Jewish. It's part of perhaps the most important value in Judaism, pikuach nefesh, living a life. This value is so essential in Judaism that it overrides any other commandment or prohibition, even if it just might save a life. It is at the core of why we are meeting online today. After intensive discussion, a team of lay leaders and staff at RTFH felt to protect the lives of our congregation outweighed the risks of gathering in person at this time. Some have even said that the wearing of a mask is a mitzvah. Not everyone agrees. Various quarantine rules have been openly flouted across the country. Many ultra-Orthodox Jews have continued to not only have services in person, but to have large weddings and funerals. 1/3 of infections in Sacramento County have been linked to church attendance. It's not just religious groups. Every week, we learn of mass gatherings across the country, college parties, summer beach events, birthday celebrations that have led to widespread infection. Some of our nation's governors have rejected various restrictions, determining that the opening of the state's economy outweighed the potential and actual loss of life. It comes with hubris, irony, and sadness. Pastor Gerald Glenn, bishop and founder of New Deliverance Evangelistic Church in Chesterfield, Virginia, refused to stop his church services. "I will keep preaching," he said, "unless I'm in jail or the hospital. I firmly believe that God is larger than this dreaded virus." 2 weeks later, Pastor Glenn died of COVID. "It becomes very real to you," his daughter reflected. "I just beg people to understand the severity and the seriousness of this, because people are saying it's not just about us, it's about everyone around us." When we make difficult choices, we do them not just for ourselves and our needs, but for others, to make a difference. This is at the core of our faith. Way back in Deuteronomy 22, we are told about building a house. House designs in those days included a flat roof to use as extra space for the whole family. Deuteronomy commands us when we build a new house, we must put a wall or a parapet around the edge of the roof. We do this to protect others. "You shall not idly stand by the blood of your neighbors," Leviticus teaches us in this afternoon's Torah portion. A world where we cease to take other people's needs into consideration is a cold, harsh one that all of us would come to regret. Maimonides wrote, "All ethical principles concern the mutual relations between a person and another person and are given for the benefit of society." Or take the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in his letter from the Birmingham jail. "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly." Our concern during this unprecedented time leads people to make decisions that will dramatically and perhaps unintentionally affect others. In the synagogue world, there are families who don't see a place for them if the building is mostly closed. Zoom religious school is just too much online time for their child, so they're pulling out of school. And they're also not going to stay a member either. They'll come back to the synagogue, they say, when everything is back to normal. One wonders, will there be a synagogue to come back to? Already we've seen numerous restaurants and business close shop forever this summer. We know there are many more to come. Unlike a business, we are a community that not only survives on the generosity of our community, but exists to serve that community. You may not need the synagogue right now, but someone else does, and we are all interconnected. It is precisely at this moment that people need to support the most important things in their lives. This is the moment to show up in larger numbers than ever before. Once there was a king who had one beloved daughter. When she was to be married, the king wanted the whole community to be part of her wedding. He invited everyone to be there, but the king felt everyone should be part of the celebration. He asked that each family in the kingdom offer a small gift, a pitcher of their best homemade wine. He announced that the royal carpenter would build a giant barrel on the palace grounds with a ladder reaching up to the top of the barrel. Prior to the ceremony, a member of each family would climb the ladder and pour his pitcher into the barrel. Sommeliers would find such a mixture horrifying, but the king planned to share this community wine at the celebration, which would be made even sweeter by their shared contributions. The barrel was built, and every day the people climbed to the ladder and poured the wine to the top. Finally, the blessed day of the wedding arrived. It was full of love and song and dancing. The king called for everyone to follow him over to the barrel. He tapped the barrel himself and placed a glass under the faucet and turned the spigot. As the liquid poured into the mug, the crowd gasped, for into the king's mug flowed clear water. How could this be? Well, you see, for weeks, every villager had thought that he or she could get away with pouring water into the barrel. Because, after all, what would one pitcher of water matter with all that wonderful sweet wine? Every villager had expected the others to do their part, figuring that he or she had to do nothing. What should have been a magnificent celebration for the entire kingdom turned into a day of sorrow. Our community is wonderfully made up of, well, our community. It is seen in fundraisers like the Grateful Fund this summer that is helping pay for dues and religious school fees for some families that have lost their jobs. It is made up of our Kol Nidre appeal that you heard about from Mickey Josephs earlier that helps with the shortfalls of our annual budget. It is made up of contributions and dues from all of you. It is also made up of people doing things, so many things. These Zoom high holidays have called upon our need for more people than ever to make it happen, from choir videos to tech support to shofar blowers to so much more. Out of curiosity, I added up how many people were involved in the planning and preparing and running these services. It totaled an amazing 164 people, and some of them doing double and triple jobs. What a blessing we have of our volunteers and our support. I humbly invite you to be a part of that group moving forward, financially and as a volunteer. Now more than ever, we need to pour your sweetest wine into our RTFH barrel. Our synagogue has gone virtual, but it is still real. We are still a loving, diverse, active community for life cycles, holidays, study, celebration, sadness, and connection. We are a real place that needs you more than ever. For everyone who joins us, whether on Zoom or YouTube, we are so glad you're here. And when next year's high holidays come, hopefully in person with a live stream too. We look forward to sharing the sweetest wine together. Shana Tova.